Hello everyone, this is a quick introduction to my channel, as I've never done a proper one. I've always have had a love for horror since I was a child. I am 19 years old now, and want to implement that love and express it into a new platform, like this channel. On this channel, you can expect scary Reddit stories, creepypastas, and general conspiracy theories that you can wash away and fall asleep to. Please like and subscribe to help boost this channel as quality continues to get better and better from here on out. Thank you, and now grab your nearest teddy, and hopefully you sleep before you hear the shocking end to this story. My dog keeps watching me, and it's making me uncomfortable. I just can't seem to remember it all. It's probably from the damage my brain took. I appreciate you all for sticking with me as I write this all down, trying to remember all the fine details. I'll start from the beginning. A high squealing that turned into a whimper awoke me. Leaning over, my eyes still blurry and crusty from the night's sleep, I saw him standing in the doorway, his silhouette in a position of half squat while he frantically danced in place. He needed to go out, and I didn't want to get up. The warmth I accumulated overnight was something I was reluctant to lose. How selfish of me, the thought ran through my mind like a slow burning guilt. After imagining him pissing all over the floor, I threw the half-twisted blanket off, my feet finding home on the small step ladder. As I stepped down, I noticed his wiggle transform into glimmers of happiness, knowing that he successfully grabbed my attention. "Come on, Vito," I called, while getting his collar ready. As I opened the door to the old trailer, Vito blew by me in focused concentration to make it to his usual spot before relieving himself. He was still a pup, but he was learning relatively quickly. A rescued German shepherd from the shelter down the road. He was a sweetheart and comforted me through all these crazy life changes. I never understood why no one wanted him. How did I get here? Why was my life in such a mess? I've been on top of the world the last few years before everything came tumbling down. I had a home, a family, and a better than good job making more than what was needed. Then, in an instant, the home was sold. My partner moved away with my child, and I lost my job. It was a dark time, and I was just looking for some kind of light in all of it. Now I was living in a camper trailer in the middle of nowhere. Nothing trashy, but nothing fancy. For a couple months in the winter, I have to haul water in, since the trailer would freeze up. It wasn't made for the northeast winters that seem to get more brutal each year. Maybe that was just me getting older. The electricity would go out frequently since it was at the end of the service line. At least I still have my dog. He has been with me through it all and has never judged the many mistakes I have made. After Vito was content doing his business, he charged back to the door of the camper swiftly. It was 5 a.m. and there was still a chill crawling through the dark morning grass. He's not a fan of the cold, hence his haste. It was the end of May but felt more like the end of March. Funny how the calendar doesn't really line up anymore. But with all the changes happening, the weather was the least of my worries. Unemployed, I was trying to get a temporary job so I could save up and get back on the road again and travel. It's all I really wanted to do, but I was finding it hard to pin down what exactly would work for me. I was quickly running out of money to support myself, and there was a light sense of panic that was beginning to fill me. One night, I was surfing the web looking for something, anything to perk my interest. After hours of scrolling through jobs that I wasn't qualified for, I clicked on FB for a quick dopamine release. Funny how we don't even notice we do it until it's too late. As soon as I logged in, my subconscious dopamine pleasure was snuffed by a text message from my best friend Adam. It read,
"Dude, how have you been? I've been thinking about you, and I know shit has not been great lately. Just wanted to let you know that I am here if you need to talk. Also, who has been taking your FB photos? I didn't realize you had any friends other than me, lol. Just kidding, but they're all kind of creepy. I love it.
I haven't had time to post anything. I've been grieving about my life and how it spiraled out of control. I've always needed time to cope with sudden negative changes that have surfaced. Curious, I quickly logged into my account and checked to see what images had been uploaded. Is it possible someone has hacked my account? Quickly, the eerie photos loaded that he was talking about. I immediately knew they were ones not taken by me. It was like someone was sitting on my couch taking pictures of me at my computer, in the dark, with terrible exposure. I was completely dumbfounded by them. I didn't recall the last time someone was over and sat on that old couch. I probably wouldn't have let them. It was so old and covered in unremovable stains. A freebie that was picked up out of desperation in a time that I was financially incapable of buying anything at all. I came to the conclusion that someone must have taken them from when I initially moved in. I had a couple friends, if that's what you want to call them, crashed here when I was moving my stuff. They were more Adam's friends. I haven't seen them since. Maybe them. I shook it off and deleted the weird pics before shutting down the PC. Suddenly, the realization set in that I didn't feed Vito and internally cursed myself for forgetting. Again, I let out his name. Vito. As I turned, I realized he was quietly sitting on the couch in a perfect pose, panting slowly while locked onto my motion. "I'm sorry, buddy," I said in an embarrassing tone. "Let's go eat." He clambered down from the couch and followed me into the kitchen. 8:30 was an hour past his dinner time. Dogs are creatures of habit and love routine. I quickly mixed his food. As I placed it, he acted like he was starving and started lapping before the bowl hit the ground. How dramatic, I thought. My memory has not been right since the accident. I've been angry at the fact I forget, causing this compounding loop of hate that reaches out its ugly claws to try to find something to blame. Someone hit me on my motorcycle a couple years back. I almost died. I took a life flight to St. Elizabeth's Hospital. Since then, my body and mind have not been the same. I won't go into crazy details about the accident, but it was not my fault. When it happened, it left me with several broken bones and minor brain damage. It's funny, I don't feel like I have brain damage. I feel like I got a second chance. I just get hung up on some things when it comes to remembering, long or short term. It's just another thing to add to the list of how fucked up things have been. I sat on the deck while Vito was eating inside. I watched as the sun slammed into the hillside, projecting streams of orange and red into the distance. I don't know how long I gazed. It brought me a calming feeling. Vito finished up and hummed by the screen door, his signal to be let out. It's funny when it's just you and a dog and how easily it can be to read each other, as though a different language is formed between the two. You can almost think and feel what the other is feeling at any given time. Truly, man's best friend. I opened the door and watched him lazily trot with his tongue half dropped from the side of his mouth. Ignorant to the world and the vile things that happen in it. He quickly returned, and we both retreated inside for the night. The next day came, and I had previous plans. As I patted him on the head, I told Vito goodbye and jumped into the old truck to go into town and have lunch with Allison, an old friend from back in the day, high school time. She was one of the few that still communicated with me after high school. She was always breathtaking, but never on the market. I missed my opportunities with her. I never had the gall to communicate with women. I was either completely egotistical or she definitely looked at me with some kind of feelings maybe. But I was too chicken shit to ask and ruin what we currently had, so I left it at that. I met her at a small dinner at the edge of town called Buster's. It was exactly what you would expect for a small town. Cheap wood tables, cheap placemats, and cheap food. Living in a cheap town surprises you when you venture out and find out that most things are better than you think. I continued straight inside when I saw her rusty Bronco was already parked out front. She was sitting a couple booths back near the entry. Blonde hair, blue eyes. She was absolutely stunning in that old YSU hoodie that should have been thrown out a decade ago. She wasn't the type of girl that flaunted her beauty, but was well kept. You're gonna think I'm a creep, but when I sat down, I could smell her. It was intoxicating. Floral notes with spring clean undertones. Not too strong, just how I like it. "What's up, Ali?" I said in a calm voice.
How are you, Matthew?
I am as good as I can be. She knew my situation and has been a good support system for me, even though her boyfriend Dale doesn't care for me one bit. He's the quiet, jealous kind. Maybe he should be. I don't know. I feel like Ali and I were always meant to be together, but I might just be toxic and selfish.
I passed my final exam.
That's great. You studied hard for that, I said reassuringly. I leaned in, cutting the small talk. Has everything been okay at home? Maybe I went to the delicate subject too soon. She looked at me like she didn't want to touch that topic, but I cared. I really did. She lowered her voice as she scanned the room.
He hasn't hit me again. Not like that.
She said, as she lowered her head in something that contained some form of shame. I'm sorry. I didn't want to bring it up, but you know I will break his fucking legs. I stared at her intensely.
Stop it, psycho.
She said, as she started laughing hysterically, as she lightly dusted my shoulder.
You know, if I couldn't handle myself, I would call.
She continued while batting her eyes. I shrugged it off, just happy I didn't make her too uncomfortable. A short little Hungarian lady approached with 2 ice waters, a pen and notepad.
What will it be?
She said while dawning the waters, smiling but also transitioning straight to business.
I'll take the club.
Allison quickly responded. I just repeated, the same. Noticing the impatient look on the server's face and the fact that I was lost in conversation, taking a sip of water, I reminisced. Do you remember when I moved into the trailer and everyone helped me get settled in? She smiled.
Yeah, you went from having everything to nothing, so it wasn't much work.
She said as she gave a slight chuckle. Items just weigh you down. I've never felt such a burden lifted like getting rid of possessions. But apart from that, I came across some weird photos that I apparently uploaded and don't remember taking. Just pictures of my back while I was sitting at my computer.
You were probably high or something and just don't remember.
She motioned her fingers to her lips like she was hitting a joint. I chuckled. You're probably right. A moment of silence fell before I let the situation dissolve and shrugged it off. As we were finishing up, I looked into her eyes, deep and concerning. Don't hesitate to call me if you ever need anything. You have always been there for me when I needed you. I can at least repay the kindness you have given me. I lowered my eyes and then locked onto hers. She hesitated from the intensity in my eyes and replied with a blushing smile.
Please take care of yourself too, Matthew.
The server came back quickly with the check. This woman was on a mission to provide impeccable service. I respect that. After paying, we walked through the threshold into the bright sunny day. My eyes squinted in pain as they adjusted to the sudden change. Though relatively reclusive, I felt comfortable around Alison. She gave off positive energy in a dark and hostile world. It's almost intoxicating with a splash of respect to carry yourself like that these days. She spun me around for a hug.
Thanks for lunch?
She whispered into my left ear. I just nodded as she jumped into the Bronco, fired it up, and crept away. I arrived home to see Vito in the small window of the trailer watching me walk to the doorway. As I turned the key, I heard him skitter to the doorway. He leapt by me into the yard as I continued in, dropping my keys and wallet while kicking off my shoes. I left the door open to the screen. The temperature was just perfect for it in the late afternoon. I sat down at my PC and started looking again. Some time had passed when I suddenly realized I hadn't let Vito back in yet. I turned my chair to get out from under the desk so I could stand up. As I stood, I noticed Vito sitting on the couch staring at me, like he always does with that dumb, happy look. It hit me as quick as I saw him. I didn't remember letting him back in. It's been hours. My eyes didn't leave him as I tried to pinpoint if I actually let him back in. He just stared back as he rhythmically panted. I shook my head, questioning my mind. They say people that are losing their minds don't notice, so I must have just forgotten that I let him back in. I went through the regular evening motions of feeding myself and Vito before sitting in the chair to relax for the night. Just then, my cell phone rang. It was Alison. I stared at her name on my phone for a moment. Something wasn't right. It was almost 9:30, and she had never called this late. "Are you okay?" I asked as I swiped the green icon. On the other end, I could just hear muffled sobs before the piece of shit Dale started screaming. Then, the phone disconnected. I hate that guy. He was like a douchebag, varsity jock that was known for beating up women. That shit makes me sick. I immediately tried to call her back, but no answer. After the unsuccessful call, I sent her a text to call me as soon as she could. She quickly responded with, "I am coming over." 10 minutes passed before I heard the gravel popping under rolling tires enter the driveway. She only lived about 15 minutes away from the long, winding driveway that led to my mansion on wheels. She must have been speeding. Vito started to bark frantically at the incoming vehicle. I assured him it was okay, and he calmed down, but still stayed vigilant. Out of the shadows, I saw the tiny silhouette of Alison emerge, walking towards the front porch. I met her halfway down my uneven sidewalk. She sobbed as she tucked her head into my chest, eyes already streaming, makeup running.
I can't go back there.
"You don't have to. You can stay here as long as you need," I said calmly, as I comforted her the best I could. All the time, Vito sat in the doorway behind the screen watching. As Alison walked closer to the porch, the light caught her face, and I saw Dale's latest work of art. One large purple swollen lump right under her left eye. I swallowed my anger for the moment. She didn't need more of it right now. I had to put that away and help her the best I could. I opened the door and let her in, checking over my right shoulder before closing the door behind me. She sat on the couch and blankly stared at the wall.
I should have left his ass a long time ago. I just got caught up in it all.
She said, as she ripped off her coat with anger. I didn't say anything. This wasn't about me. This was her moment to vent.
I just thought things would get better, but they never did. I'm never going back there.
She said, as she looked at me with intensity. Like I said, you can stay as long as you need, I said, as I looked around at the less desirable living conditions that I have been in. This was no place for a lady. It was barely a bachelor pad. I blame it on the depression. You can really take a hit, I said, as I gestured to her eye. She started laughing as she swung and caught me on the arm with a jab. As soon as it hit, she leaned forward and locked her lips onto mine. An explosion of passion turned everything liquid. Her lips felt like they belonged to mine, like home. She quickly reached down and slid her hand up my thigh, not going too far, but far enough to make my whole body vibrate. Every chemical started dumping into a stream of lust, long overdue. Her hand advanced, and I felt her soft touch through the outside of my Wranglers. She stripped her shirt off while never leaving my lips, cautious to not miss out on the fire that was burning in front of us. I looked over and saw Vito quietly watching from a distance. "Do you want me to put him in another room?" I said, talking through her lips as they desperately searched for mine. She didn't even react to my words. She quickly pulled my shirt over my head and pushed me back onto the couch, her breasts pressing to my chest. Things moved so quickly, before I knew it, I entered. Her eyes rolled back like pure possession had taken over. She continued to grind deeper and deeper, like satisfaction was a competition, and she refused to lose. She had all this anger built up, and she was turning it into a different kind of energy. Her soft skin enveloped me as I lost track of the perceived time. It was animal-like. She took what she needed, knowing that I was also a beneficiary. I don't remember much after that. I think I blacked out from exhaustion at some point. Daylight peeked through the edge of the blinds, that part right where the edge piece snapped off. Squinting at the clock, I struggled to gain focus and finally gave up. I rolled onto my back and stared at the ceiling as bits and pieces of last night wandered back into my mind. A welcome bit of light. The sound of pans clinking and water running broke me from my thoughts. As my senses awoke, the smell of breakfast became more clear. I haven't had breakfast in this trailer since maybe the first week here. After that, it just didn't seem like something I wanted to spend my time on. I made my way to the couch and plopped down, clearly giving up my position.
I don't know, these eggs might kill us,
she said as she placed a plate on the coffee table. She gave me a smile and just stood there in just her panties.
You don't have anything in your fridge, and the things you do are questionable.
Arms crossed, disappointment evident, but I could still see the passion in her eyes and a small smirk dented on her battered cheek. I just sat there, staring at her beautiful form, perfectly symmetrical. A moment that I never wanted to forget. She went from nympho to mother flawlessly. She was part caretaker, part vixen. No doubt in my mind, I was completely lost in her. It's almost like we both knew this would happen. It just needed to be properly triggered. "I gotta let Vito out," I said as I walked to the door.
I already did.
She responded before I wasted any time. He sat there on the floor, panting, watching. I walked over and gave him a rub on his head. He grunted with pleasure when I found his favorite spot.
I have to go get things out of the house.
She said as she started gathering her clothes.
I will take you up on staying here for a few, if that's still okay.
She didn't wait for a response as she headed to the doorway, throwing that ugly hoodie on. "Of course, be careful," I said as she closed the door, looking back with a playful smile. I sat there for what seemed hours, basking in the stench of last night. I had nothing to my name, but I felt happy for once. At least I had Allison. I went and took a long shower, and when I was done, I jumped back on the computer while I waited for Allison to come back. If we were going to build a life, I needed to get everything figured out. I felt motivated, purpose restored. As I was looking, I pulled out my phone and noticed another missed text message from Adam It read,
Bro, did you lose your fucking mind? I can't believe you posted a video of yourself like that on the internet. Who was the new chick?
My stomach dropped. What did he mean by that? I logged into my account to find out that I uploaded a new video 8 hours ago. It was me and Allison. I had her laying on the coffee table, slowly thrusting. All of our intimate moments on blast. Who could have recorded this video? I didn't have a security system or anything fancy like that. Did she set a camera up and record us to get back at Dale? The angle of the video makes it look like it was being taken from the couch, just like those previous pictures. Covered in sweat, the thoughts raced through my mind. I quickly deleted what I could before anyone else could see it. It's not like how it used to be though. Everything is instant, and people are so obsessed that it's almost like they are waiting. Goddamn vultures. My parents, my nieces and nephews could have seen this. Who knows? I didn't know the extent of the damage until my phone rang. I was met by rage clear as day.
What are you? Some kind of sick fucking pervert?
I could hear the disgust and anger in her voice.
Those were our private moments. You want to know how I found out? My mom called me crying, saying she saw me doing unspeakable things on social media. Then to top it off, Dale called me, telling me I'm the new hoe on the block. Everyone probably this, don't fucking talk to me again.
Before I could get a word out, the call ended. I sat there in silence, trying to put everything together. I knew I obviously didn't do it, and the way Allison was blowing up on me clearly tells me she didn't want to be top video on some amateur porn site. I turned and looked over to the couch, and in that moment, Vito's eyes locked with mine. He didn't move, like at all. I stood up and watched intensively while he sat there and looked at me. Then his eye twitched. It was almost unnoticeable. It closed and opened in a way that no animal moves. It was almost like a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic motion that sent chills down my spine. I was frozen in place. Vito, I called out. His head leaned to the side. I could not take my eyes off of him now. Something wasn't right. At that time, I noticed him sitting right where the pictures and video were recorded from. He sat there all the time now that I think about it. It was completely insane to think, but what happened doesn't have any explanation. So the mind wanders for reasoning. I felt like reality was breaking away, and I was trying to bring myself back to earth. I tried calling and texting Allison, but I got nothing. She probably already went back to Dale. I blew my chance with my dream girl again. Why did things keep falling apart? A day passed, and still nothing from Allie. I felt sick to my stomach, but it might be because I haven't had anything to eat since this all went down. The stress of completely losing her started to mount. I went into the kitchen and threw a piece of cheese between 2 pieces of bread, then returned to the living room. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Vito sitting on the couch staring at me. I started to feel more uncomfortable with him around. His stare was piercing and wrong. His presence is more and more off-putting. I locked eyes on him and caught what I would call a glitch. His head was moving from left to right, and then resetting kinda like a record player when it ends its side and brings the needle back over to reset. Slow, calculated motions that felt more and more unrealistic, mechanical. I calmly walked over and cautiously put my hand on his head, gently petting him, running my hand down the back of his neck. This time, I felt something off. Something was protruding from his neck, something rough and flexible. I brushed back his fur and noticed 2 little wires, one red and one blue. My heart started to pound as his head slowly turned and his eyes met mine. He looked into me like the jig was up. Just then, a knock at the door.
Hey, let me in.
Allison's voice muffled through the wooden door. She didn't sound excited. My heart sank. The dog would have to wait. I needed to find a way to fix things. I opened the door to Allison standing on my front porch, drenched from the rain with a small bag on her shoulder. She walked by me quickly without making eye contact and continued silently into the kitchen. I closed the door and followed. Before I rounded the corner, I started apologizing before she cut me off. Allison, I just want...
I don't want you to think I forgive you for what you did.
She sneered as she tossed her bag on the table. I thought about how this conversation might go if I ever got the chance to have it. I could play the crazy liar card and tell her I didn't do it, and that my dog is a robot with cameras in his eyes. Or I could take the fall for something I didn't even do to maybe, just maybe, be able to fix this. I don't feel like I could tell her about Vito. She definitely would think I was crazy. That shit was too weird to drop on her until I figured out what the hell was actually going on.
I am not coming back to say what you did was okay. I'm really pissed. Half the town thinks I'm a slut, but I don't have anywhere else to go. My mom won't talk to me. She said she needs time to process what she saw, and Dale said I'm never allowed back. I just need to stay the night, and I will figure something out tomorrow.
Just then, Vito walked into the kitchen and started pawing at his bowl. I just stared at him while I studied his movements, waiting for him to spark or make some kind of servo noise that never happened.
Are you going to feed that poor dog?
Allison groaned as she brushed his back, talking to him like a baby. I slowly got his food and mixed it while not taking my eyes off of him. I gave him his food and obsessively watched.
Why are you acting so weird?
She said, drilling me with her eyes. I thought to myself, a lot of fucking weird shit has just happened. I took my gaze off of Vito and returned it to Allison. I'm fine, I said while shaking it off and responding to her original question. Yeah, of course you can stay. I am really sorry about what happened. She rolled her eyes at me and started making a nest on the couch.
You will sleep in your bed.
She commanded.
You probably have cameras to watch me out here anyway.
She said sarcastically before she rolled over. She was clearly not here to forgive me. That video would have a long, lasting impact on both of our lives. I didn't say anything. I honestly couldn't think of anything that would help at this point, and my heart was crushed by the thought of her hating me. I let Vito out one more time, shut out the lights, and retreated to my bed. That night, I woke up to the sound of Vito lapping and slurping out of his bowl, something that happens nightly. But now that I was awake, I had the urge to go check on Allie. Thinking about the train wreck of a day we had, I didn't want to bother her since she was obviously still really upset with me. It was still dark as the early morning started to creep in. As I laid there in the scratchy linen sheets, I couldn't help but to think about my suspicions of Vito. Have I gone completely mad? Or am I stuck in some type of Twilight Zone episode? Is my dog real? Or some kind of futuristic robot that was given to me by the shelter? Was the dog some kind of sleeper cell that was suddenly triggered to start ruining my life? The thoughts raced through my mind for quite some time, until I succumbed to sleep. The morning light that came through my window was unforgiving. I noticed a strange smell that was unrecognizable. It was like iron and copper melted together, musty and wet. I gathered myself in preparation for the next encounter with Allison and slowly opened the bedroom door into the living room. There was absolute silence and darkness. I always kept the curtains drawn. Nosy neighbors are partial to these parts. As I rounded the corner, I saw the couch with the back of Allison's head peeking just over the armrest. As I walked closer to the couch, I felt the carpet give an unwelcome squish. At that moment, Terrible thoughts bombarded me. I rushed over and dropped to my knees. Alison was naked and split right up the center of her body. A jagged cut that started in her pelvic area and ended right at the base of her throat. Organs were pulled out and placed on each of the sides of her body in a haphazardly manner. Blood was soaked into the couch, dripping off the fringe and saturated into the surrounding floor. Her face looked peaceful, pale, and had little splashes of blood on her delicate white cheeks. It all looked gruesome and maniacal. I noticed I had blood on myself, probably from all that was pooled around the couch. Bloody paw prints were littered throughout, some leading around the trailer. I stood up, cautiously moving in case the intruder was still stalking. My mind was racing, going over how this could have happened. As I rounded the living room to the kitchen, there was Vito, sitting in the middle of a bloody mess, staring, motionless, statuesque. He had something unrecognizable chewed into small pieces in front of him. Maybe an organ. He was matted in Alison's blood, just staring and panting. I felt rage flood into me like 100 oceans. He took the only good thing I had in my life. I rushed back to my bedroom and came back with a baseball bat. Without clear thought, I proceeded to strike Vito with it over and over until there was no more life in his body. He never even moved or flinched during the attack I unleashed. God, there was so much blood. I kneeled down and started combing through the decimated corpse of my beloved friend turned killer. I mashed through his insides, looking for a central processing unit, wires, something. All I found was biological matter, smashed and squeezed. I was covered. Vito must have still ripped her open. There was no signs of forced entry that I could see. I will have to call the cops and let them know that my dog has been acting funny and attacked my friend that was sleeping on the couch. Was that believable? Because this sure as fuck looks like I did it, especially after bashing the dog's brains in. Fuck, what have I done? My phone started to ring. I looked at the caller ID. It was Adam. I hesitated, then answered. Listen, man, I can't talk right now. There is something serious going down, and I need to figure out what to do. There was a long silence then.
Dude, how did you make that look so real? I was just watching it and was thinking, this is so crazy real looking. Like all the blood and the body parts, you really took it to the next level, man. That's some dark shit. Very creative, though.
His voice sounded hesitant and confused. The knot in my throat started to tighten as the phone fell from my hand with a him, still talking on the other end. I slowly made my way to the computer. It all started to fall into place in my mind. I sat down and logged in. Another video was uploaded 5 hours ago. It was labeled, How to Split a Whore in Two. I sat and stared in shock as it started to play. In the video, Alison was fast asleep on the couch. I slowly entered naked from my bedroom, eyes blank. I walked over and stood above Alison for at least 15 minutes, just quietly watching her sleep, slightly swaying from side to side. Then I disappeared to the kitchen. Maybe I was sleeping walking. I don't remember ever having issues with this in the past. My hand tightened around the mouse when I returned from the kitchen with a contractor bag. I pulled at the bag and fanned it to fill it with air. Just as she started to stir from the rustling of the bag, I slipped it over her head and cinched it down. She jerked violently out of surprise, pushing back as we both forced the coffee table to the side. I watched as I leveraged all my weight, counteracting her struggle, pulling so tight that the plastic started to stretch over and around her face, lips opening and closing violently, like a fish gasping for water. She fought with all her might, arms and legs flailing frantically, With muffled hum, she gasped for air that would never come, clawing at my chest with one last flurry of hope. Her flailing slowed and became more disorganized, like someone searching in the dark. The effort settled to a light twitching motion as the last electrical pulses made their way down her arms and legs. Then, relaxation. The whole time I moved as if in some kind of trance-like state. That wasn't me. I don't remember doing any of that. I held her affectionately, her head still wrapped in the thick plastic, pressed against my chest, like a mother would a child. I laid with her for some time before walking outside for a short moment and returning with a powered jigsaw. I stopped the video. I couldn't watch anymore. By looking at the current state of her body, I knew what happened next. My body suddenly went into flight mode. I knew I didn't have much time before the video would draw attention. I needed to get out of here, but I didn't know if I should do something with the body or just leave it. I still cared for her and didn't want to leave her this way. I packed a bag as quickly as I could, knowing my freedom was at stake. I looked at myself in the mirror. What have I become? Then a pounding at the door. I wrote all this down because this is all I could remember about my life so far. I think the accident messed my brain up. I will keep writing when I finally remember what happened next.